Now, anyone that's watching my channel right now, think of this as a global counseling session where both sides have the opportunity to voice their side of a story. Now, this is my channel, so it is my side of the story, but it doesn't mean that my side of the story is going to be the correct one. That's why any information that I share with anybody, it's like you don't know everything. You will never know the truth to everything unless everybody has their truth and everybody finds out what's really going on. And this is the same problems we're having globally, is we are assuming, we are jumping to conclusions, mostly because of our past experiences. And our past experiences tend to influence how we perceive our world. So at this stage of the game, all I can do is give my side of the story. But I will admit, it's not going to be truth. It's only my truth. And I'm willing to have my truth corrected. But I can't even get the peace table going so anybody can even point out any errors of my ways. Everybody's too busy trying to call me crazy and not look at their own friggin' insanity. When you judge another, you're actually projecting what's inside of you. Now, there's been a lot of, they've gone to great lengths to even pay for counseling to prove that there's something wrong with me. And yet all that showed is I ended up getting even more confidence because I found out there's nothing crazy about me. And I only had agreed to this counseling that my children paid for if they agreed to show up at the same meetings. Nobody showed up. So nobody wanted to have their side of the story told. They don't want to tell their story. They don't want to solve any problems. They just want to tell their friends, their society, what their version of the truth really is. You know, my society is YouTube, because I find I'm trying to collect like-minded people that might comprehend my side of it. There's an awful lot of victims these days, and a lot of us victims sort of have to have an understanding of what's going on, and there's an awful lot of abusers out there that don't even know that they're abusive. And it's usually, there's a good sign that your behaviors are questionable when you can't come to a peace table. The one that's saying, hey, come to a peace table and let's have the conversation and let's find truth, generally is the one that's open to be doing the right thing. The ones that are trying to avoid a conversation, generally they're trying to avoid their own behaviors instead of, you know, trying to deal with them and solve them. So the biggest thing that, the biggest evil thing that I did that has escalated my son not talking to me anymore is they were very, very busy trying to say that I'm crazy, and the one daughter, the last daughter that has been staying with me, living with me, the daughter that I paid child support to her deadbeat father, they all felt that she needs a lot of counseling and a lot of healing because she spent way too much time with her mother. Meanwhile, she's doing real good. She's about the healthiest one out of everybody because she wants family to get along. She has a passion for family to get along and solve problems, where everybody else is just trying to ignore and stay in the problem. So anyways, they thought that they would want to help her out, and they offered her a place to stay, and they thought that they were going to train her how to look for work. Meanwhile, this girl has been working since she was like 12. Lots of it was volunteer work, but she worked with stables and at horses on a volunteer basis. She's even, we lived in one place where she couldn't find a job, so she volunteered at a restaurant. So this girl does know how to work. She had no problems looking for a job. Going in and applying was a little bit of a challenge. Most of these places I just sort of started the conversation, but she's the one that actually did the work. But I thought it's always good to get a different experience from other people. So I was very, very supporting of my son helping my daughter out. Now, while she was there, nothing she did was right. She stayed in an office, a room that was an office that they had a little bed in there, but she wasn't allowed to stay in that room. She wasn't allowed to even have a day off. Even though she had 3 part-time jobs, they insisted that she still keep looking for another job. And all of her paycheck went directly to them. Meanwhile, they're, here, spend your money on a phone you can't afford and pay me back. And spend your money on this and then pay me back. And that's basically what they were doing, is getting her to spend money she didn't have on things she couldn't afford, but it was always a pay me back later, which she did. All of her money went back to them. And they were planning this wedding that they couldn't afford. Now, I would suspect that if you were going to help somebody else out, you don't charge them as much rent as they were charging. But that was money in their pocket. They needed more money, so they were, it was nice and convenient to get, another roommate in there so that their expenses were a lot lower so that they could afford the wedding that they wanted. Now, meanwhile, there was a lot of complaints about my daughter, which my son was saying, trying to get her to apologize to my daughter-in-law constantly, because their relationship was at risk if my daughter didn't apologize for things she wasn't guilty of. That was kind of a sign. She wasn't able to communicate with these guys, so my daughter's used to running away. Every time that I would be grounding, her father would always be there with a bribe so that she would never have to face any form of discipline. Her father basically taught her how to run away from problems. So when this was all going on, she wanted to run away back home. Now, I'm trying to be the supportive one and encourage them to work problems out. So my biggest sin was I had phoned my daughter-in-law and I said, you might want to have a little conversation with Savannah. She's having some problems and she's, basically on her way home, and you guys don't know that. Well, apparently that was a really big sin. Everybody thinks that I had done something really outrageous wrong for even letting anybody know that my daughter needed to have a conversation. And the words were, I know how to communicate. I don't need anybody to tell me how to communicate. Well, it's been over a year and she's not communicated at all. She's basically ignored everything, and then planned a wedding which they made sure that me and my daughter didn't go to. Meanwhile, both me and my daughter were trying to encourage other family members to overcome a lot of other bullshit and show up at their brother's wedding. That this was important and family needed to support it. So while we were busy, influencing 2 other members to attend that wedding, it was the people that were trying to encourage, overcome problems and just show up were the ones that were highly targeted not to go to this wedding. So that was a little really hurtful. And just about a week prior to this wedding, my son was about to lose his very expensive Jeep that he can't afford and needed to come up with some money for a payment. Who's the one that came up with the payment? Me, the mom that's living on a low income, is the one that ended up coming up with the payment. Did I get a thank you? No. I got I'm the one that's guilty. I'm the one that's at fault at everything. And meanwhile, these people are saying that they're being taken advantage of. How are you taken advantage of when you're the one that has all of the money? That seems to be the game that's played, is we're only good when we have money to give you. As soon as our money runs out, you guys are gone. And then you tell a bunch of stories about, oh, we did something really, really horrible. What is so horrible about saying, hey, sit down and have a conversation? There's a big problem. So that's how that one argument, I have no idea how that got told, how that version got told into being some big major sin. But apparently there's a sin there that's so bad that my son won't talk to me anymore. I really don't get it. I really don't see what's so wrong with saying, Savannah has a problem. She runs away from her problem. She won't let you know she wants to talk to you, but she really needs to talk to you if you guys want this plan worked out. I don't see that as a big, huge sin. I don't understand how that's a sin. I'm not hearing any conversations of how that was a big sin, but apparently it was a big enough sin that says we don't want you at our wedding. And if you don't think after everything I have done for my son, everything that I've given him, mind you, it wasn't the best considering the hell my ex-husband and his wife have put me through. I am not financially wealthy, so I couldn't buy them the best sports cars and the best of everything. But I did my best with what I had. And in the end, I'm not even invited to my son's wedding for everything that I've done. Trust me, I'm the one that feels like I've been taken advantage of. So, be the judge. Who's the one that's right and who's the one that's wrong? Let's hear the other version. If I'm wrong, please explain your side of the story. I would really like to know where I went so wrong by just making the suggestion that people communicate. Because so far, if you know how to communicate, I ain't seeing it. It's been over a year. Haven't seen any effort of any form of communication, and yet you told me, don't be the one that starts any form of communication with you. Don't come to a peace table with you. That would be a wrong thing. So I said, okay, if I'm wrong, I'll leave it up to you. You can come and talk to me when you're ready. Well, it's well over a year after one wedding, and I ain't seen no conversation come up. So maybe you're not so good at communicating, and maybe you do need to be told when to have a conversation. And yeah, you can tell your friends all of your bullshit stories, and I can tell my friends my story, which is what I'm doing. Let's just tell better stories. Let's try and heal this so that we can actually have a good story to tell about how to solve family problems. So maybe other people can get this as well and solve their family issues, like we have to solve our family issues. Peace out, and I love you too. No matter what it is that you do, you are my daughter-in-law, and I love you, and I know that you don't mean to cause people as much pain as you do. You're just doing the best that you can with what you know. It's just time to know a little different. Peace out.